Hey guys, welcome back to the Franchise Tag Podcast, Season 2, Episode 8, coming right back at you. As always, check us out on Spotify. We don't plug it every episode, but we really should, and we really need to start doing that. But anywho, coming back at you, we'll get the PickEms recap over with, then we'll go game by game for a few games. This was kind of a lull of a week, honestly, as far as this NFL season goes. And then talk about some injuries, talk about some other general NFL topics, and then we're going to do a bit of a trade block segment. We're going to see who we think might get traded by the deadline. Ultimately, all these deals will probably happen before we upload this video.
Woohoo.
So, woohoo, we'll be ahead of the curve on that. But
yeah, Nostradamus, but in reverse.
Yes,
we predicted
franchise
things,
tag
but you didn't know we predicted the things until they happened, which means it looks like we didn't predict those things to happen and we're just talking about them. But
it's going to be so funny when we get a notification during recording that trades have happened. We're going to be like, well, that ruins everything. But anywho, we'll get into the Pick'ems recap. This past week, I went 11-4, and my lock hit. And that means that my overall record is 69, nice, and 38, with a lock record of 5-2. And the games that I got wrong were the Seahawks, Falcons, Texans, Packers, Chiefs, Niners, and Jets, Steelers.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, start off. I'm just lacking this year. I'm not really like hitting the stride that I had last season, but I went 10-5 this week. That brings my total on the year to 64-43. My lock missed, which again, as I said, I am not in my stride as I was last year. So far this season, I have had as many locks miss as I did last season. So There's some crazy stat line for you for the locks and Pick'ems lore. But I am 3-4 on my locks for the year. And, I do have just one pick that I kind of want to defend, and it was that I didn't know when I picked the Saints to win on Thursday Night Football that it was the practice squad playing and not any starters at all. In my head, I was like, oh yeah, Spencer Rattler, fine, whatever, there's going to be tape out on him, and the Broncos are going to be able to stop him a little better, but, they still have a fully functioning offense, a fully functioning defense, if you will. They don't.
They never did have a fully functioning defense, I'll put that out there, so you kind of...
They were middle of the pack, all right? Let's not say that they were bottom of the barrel. But, it's not going to function well when you got the, guy you just picked up on Tuesday kind of coming into play. Like, that's not going to fare well for a Thursday night football game. But
what was it, four rostered receivers for the Thursday night game?
Oh, yeah, they had 3 until they elevated to Equinemius the day of. But
yeah.
With that, we can kind of transition into the game-by-game recap on Thursday night football. And
real quick first, just want to shout out ChatGPT for going 10-5 as well, tying your records. So
damn.
Gotta mention that.
ChatGPT.
Damn, man. All right, we can talk about the Thursday night football game. Yeah, that was rough to watch. It was not fun. Bo Nix looked competent, which is not good for Bo Nix haters like ourselves. And I think that's all I got to say about it.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a Bo Nix hater. I'm more of like the Sean Payton offense hater. He drafted someone that was going to work really well in his offense, which means that he kind of just throws a lot of screens and avoids the middle of the field. But, they did win this game against what seemed like a team that was really just defeated upon itself. The week prior, the Saints had kind of let up a lot of scoring, let the game get away from them. And I thought, the offense was still able to score for a period. Let's just say they expanded over more of a game, and then the defense gets kind of, stopping anything. But they didn't, and the game got away from them much quicker than their last week did. So we have that being Thursday night football, and then if we want to, you weren't wrong when we said that this was kind of a lull of a week. Do you have anything from some Patriots Jags you want to touch on?
No.
Thought not. We can kind of move towards the morning lineup. There was the Packers Texans going on simultaneously with the game that you and me were both watching. I think primarily you kind of flipped between them.
I was flipping between them, which was unfortunate because I didn't get the full story on either game. I was missing plays from both of them. Unfortunately, it wasn't like one of those scenarios where you're watching one and it's a big play for a touchdown, and you flip to the other, and a couple seconds later you've got another big play. It's like, this one went to commercial. Let me flip it to the other one. Flip it to the other one. They're in the middle of a punt. And immediately after they come back from the commercial on the first one, they score a big touchdown, and you flip back to it, and it's the celebration for that touchdown. And it's like, all right, well, I just
You just could not get that timing down, huh?
no, I couldn't. I couldn't have anything nice on Sunday morning with the Patriots first, and then that. And man, the Lions shout out. They went crazy. The Vikings still looked good, and they looked. I think it's hard to say they looked better than I thought they would because they were undefeated going into it, and I thought they were a legit team. But they, the broadcast was just talking about how the last time the Lions and Vikings played, Jared Goff did an amazing against the blitz, and he's just like this really, really good under pressure, and he still was. But they were able to get home a little bit more, and their defense was it was a shootout, so I don't know if I can really say their defense was better, but their defense was able to keep their offense in the game a little bit, and it did come down to the wire. It came down to a last second field goal, right? With Jake Bates.
Jake Bates, I was nervous because this was the biggest kick he's had for the Lions yet, and he's hit big kicks for when he was with the Michigan Panthers in the UFL, but. It's like, okay, this is extra, there's more backing behind it. You're putting the entire game on his shoulders. It's not like you're tied and this is a game winner from being tied. This is, you have to make this kick to get it. And we kind of went into like run the ball mode, and I was like, okay, they know that we're doing that. I'm a little worried. Like, we got Jared Goff, who's played really well for a long stretch now. Why not let him try to get it a touchdown? But we kind of got in field goal range, played it safe, kneeled, and then took that kick, and it's the fucking NFC North, man. Like, the Lions couldn't just be good and then like everyone else be like, oh yeah, let's take some time off. No, of course it's the most ruthless competition there's been in the NFC North as soon as the Lions are good. No freebies here for me.
The Packers went from Hall of Fame quarterback to another quarterback on that trajectory of like, okay, they've got their franchise starter now again with no time in between. The Bears ended up with the most consensus first overall pick since Trevor Lawrence. But,
the prince that was promised. They got the real prince that was promised. Let's be honest.
They did, and then the Vikings. This was their down year. They're fucking undefeated until now. It's like, they only got JJ's Sam Darnold. Gone. They reached on JJ McCarthy, and he got hurt, so they got to rely on this Sam Darnold guy, and he sucked for so long. So clearly they're going to be the bottom of the barrel. So this is, it's rough being a fan of a team in the North right now, but it's also, it's got to be fun, knowing that every game's going to be a good game.
Yeah, like this is the regional games that you get to watch, and any channel you flip to, anytime you watch any team in your division, it's hard, like, you're rooting against them, but you know that they're going to win because it's just that, like, cutthroat of a division. And, like, it's going to be wild seeing which of these teams doesn't make playoffs because it's not like all of them are going to.
They can.
It could, but, like, it's very difficult to have that happen in the NFL when you have 7 teams that make it. They would need, like, well, can it happen? No, because you have the division winners that get the...
Yeah, division winners get top 4, and then you just need 3 other spots.
True. So True. That would be
It'd be very unlikely.
NFC North. Yeah, it would be very unlikely, but because
that would mean that one of the West teams don't get it. But I could definitely see the East teams only sending one. Especially if this Jaden Daniels injury is anything to be concerned. I don't think it is, but like if it is, or if he gets hurt again, I could see them not making it. And then the South is kind of ass right now. So
yeah, the South has been sending one team to the playoffs for like it feels like 5 years now. So no doubt there on that. But
anywho, do you have a lot to talk about with this one, or because I don't?
I have a little bit to talk about, and then a lot to ask you about. So
I'm not going to talk about it.
We're transitioning it now into the Chiefs 49ers game. So this was a game that kind of sucked to watch, not going to lie. It was very defensive, and it wasn't defensive. It was like, oh, wow, look at all these forced fumbles and all these picks and all like... It was more like, oh, wow, look at all these picks that the offense is throwing. Not like the defense is doing anything incredible or making a good trick play or anything like that. It was like, okay, these offenses are kind of playing like dog shit. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs managed to come out of it with the win. And, like, Mahomes is good. He played bad passing. He showed up when he needed to because that's how Mahomes is good. He just runs all over you when no one expects that right at the end to get into scoring range and then score with his legs. And I'm not so sure that this game means much to the Chiefs. Like, in terms of, oh, we have a good team that we feel, content with. I think that this is really going to, like, spark, oh, what are we going to try to get at the trade deadline? And we'll be getting into that segment in a little bit. But, I think that this shows them that, okay, we can't just coast how we have been, because this was a good team that they beat, yes. But also, they are holding themselves to such a standard that they're trying to win a three-peat. And this team that they have right now is not going to win them a three-peat unless you go ahead and you put it on Mahomes' back in the fourth quarter and, force it that way. Mahomes can do it, but he's not perfect. He's not going to do it every single time, and you're going to falter. And if he falters somehow in the playoffs, which has been his golden era, his golden hour, then you want pieces around him that can pick him up from that. And right now, there's no piece on the team that can pick him up from that.
Yeah, there's only one thing that I want to talk about from this game, and then I want to move off of it because we need to. I really don't want to talk about it at all. From last episode, the Chiefs legitimately make me dislike watching football. If they are on, I will actively choose to not watch the game instead of watching them play. I don't know what it is, but they just, I don't like watching football when it's them playing. They make me they actively make me miserable watching football, which is not easy to do. I enjoy UFL games because it's football. But if I see the Chiefs on, I'm just miserable. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Is it the commentating?
It's just the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. That's all it is. There's nothing else about it, but it's the fucking Chiefs. And it's the Mahomes running down the sideline, and he knows nobody will touch him because he'll get a flag even if he's not out of bounds. Because it happens. It's happened before. It'll happen every fucking time he's running on the sideline. So I'm done talking about that fucking game. I will not be playing again
because people do hit him.
No,
he does
they
step
fucking
out of bounds,
don't. Not on the sideline. No, they don't hit him on the sideline. You watch the fucking run. Watch the 30-yard run down the sideline. They were like, "How did he do it? Oh my god!" It's because nobody wants to fucking hit him because they're gonna get flagged, no matter what. If he's inbounds and they hit him, they will get flagged because he was on the sideline. He was giving himself up. He was in the process of it.
I think that what Mahomes does and the way Mahomes works the flag basically is he will work the flag. So if he sees someone jetting in at him at full speed, he's gonna step out of bounds then, and then he's gonna take the shot.
But there's no winning. There's no winning for the defense. You can't beat him because if he sees that you're letting up because you think he's gonna step out of bounds, so you can't hit him, he's gonna make a move. So you can't run at him because then he's gonna step out and you're gonna get flagged. But you can't not run at him because then he's just gonna keep running. There's no winning. There's no winning, and it's the fucking ref's fault. So, watching the Chiefs play and watching him work,
if he
because they throw flags on everything. They throw flags if they hit him in bounds.
The penalty. He runs out of bounds.
If he is in bounds and they hit him, they have thrown flags on it. They have thrown flags when he is in bounds and gets hit. And so you cannot do anything. There is no winning.
Okay. And this rant sets up perfectly into the question I had for you when I introed into the Chiefs-Niners. How is this at all different than when you were rooting for the Patriots with Tom Brady? And Tom Brady
because I didn't know what I was watching. I was 15. I was 15 and didn't know what I was watching. Watching the Tuck rule bullshit? Yeah, that's fucking horse shit. All right? The Patriots working the refs? It's horse shit.
it makes it not fun to watch. When I was starting to get into like actually watching football and being analytical about it, I was like, wow, Patriots are winning. That's good. These games are miserable and I don't want to watch them. I did not want to watch Patriots games when Brady was playing because it was not a fun product to watch.
Because
I was a Patriots fan and did not want to watch the games.
Is the same. You have quarterbacks who can analytically dissect the defense, but then they also have the advantage of knowing the refs. They know how they'll play. And it's not very different from how other quarterbacks are treated with flags at the sideline running out of bounds. It's simply that Mahomes knows he can leverage that, and other players will just step out of bounds. They're not going to leverage the rules need to be changed. Flag.
That's my stance on it. Is that the rules need to be fucking changed then? Because if you have people, it's like the fake slide, like the Kenny Pickett fake slide. When you're starting to slide, defenses know that they cannot touch you. They are not allowed to touch you. So when you go to slide, you're not allowed to fake it because that puts the defense in an impossible situation. So there needs to be some sort of rule that if you are angling yourself out of bounds as a quarterback, you have to be purposefully giving yourself up. But if you are running out of bounds with the purpose of getting more yards, you need to be able to get lit up. Because if that's not allowed,
then there is an
impossible situation for the defense.
The NFL's lack of changing structures to not give an unfair advantage
because
to
the
players.
Chiefs are taking advantage of it more than any other team, which makes it impossible for me to enjoy watching them. Now that that's over, we can talk about Sunday Night Football, the Jets against the Steelers, the Russ-led Steelers. That was tough to watch because we didn't want it to happen. We both picked the Jets and PickEms. You locked them. We really didn't want Russ to succeed because it's, we're Fields sleevers.
That's horrible. We got to come up with a better term for it. Damn it.
We're Justin Fields fans. We're Justin fan. No, I don't have anything for it. All right, we like Justin Fields. We wanted him to succeed. We both felt that he was doing a good enough job in that offense to not get benched, and then he got benched. So. But man, George Pickens, he likes Russ. I would say, because Russ, for all of his faults, it was Cortland Sutton when he was with the Broncos, and it was Tyler Lockett when he was with the Seahawks, where they just had
red zone threats.
Yeah, or just like deep shots, fade routes, throw it over the top, get it up to them somehow, and Russ will put it in the right position, and he's not as effective now as he's getting older and getting more washed, but he can still do it. And George Pickens is a hands catcher for sure. I think probably one of the best hands catchers in the league.
Yeah, I mean, we were watching the game and we were both like, okay, so when are we going to get to the part that only Russ can succeed at? Because we wanted to see why this change is made. Like, what does Russ bring you? And he hit a couple of good fades, like in the red zone. And I'm not sure that Justin Fields doesn't generate a touchdown on those same red zone trips. Justin Fields probably just would have ran it in. He would have maybe done a couple, like look two reads and then ran it in. Or check the fade, nah, I'm running it in. So, do I feel like it's a huge improvement over Fields in that matter? No. And I did feel that George Pickens was kind of, bailing out Russ a decent bit with the passes, but Russ gave the ball enough air to where George Pickens had the opportunity to bail it out, as opposed to I'm stopping my route and I'm now working back to the ball. So there's the genuine effectiveness of Russ with the Steelers offense right now. And I mean, looking at their record, I don't like looking at their record, because now it has a win added to it without Justin Fields. But they're kind of top of the AFC, dangerous contention to move into number one spot of the AFC. And I don't like that. And I definitely don't like it as a Russ-led offense. He played good last year. I'll give him that. I don't think that last year he was washed specifically. I think that eventually, though, this is kind of going to be those, okay, we have a new guy in. We got the tape on the new guy. and he's not going to be as effective in these later weeks against more difficult opponents than the Jets, who are reeling with Aaron Rodgers, who just loves to shove boogers in his mouth and can't wait to throw a pick when he gets out on offense next.
Hey, that one pick was
Of his
to
nose?
be fair, Garrett Wilson doesn't. Well, no, not of his nose.
Oh, okay.
but,
I was just checking.
Garrett Wilson doesn't know what a good ball is, so I guess that's why he dropped that one. But man, it's tough. He's been working with Rodgers in games for 7 weeks now, so you should probably catch it. But yeah, as far as the Russ and Fields thing goes, I don't think Russ is an option for the future. I don't know if he gives them their best chance right now. I do kind of think it's a wash, because what you may be gaining in touch on the ball when passing, you're definitely losing in rushing ability and in improvising ability, because there were, I think, as many plays as I watched that was like, wow, nice throw, Russ. I don't know if Fields could make that. There were just as many where I was like, Fields would have escaped that pocket. Fields could have hit that hole. Fields could have run that one in. Like there was just as many. So I think it is just a pick your poison, and unfortunately, neither of them are good enough that it's not like you're picking 1A, 1B. It's like you're picking 2A, 2B.
Yeah, it's not like you have one who's such a prolific passer that he's going to really set the bar, and you're not having one that's such a prolific runner that he's going to set the bar higher than the other. They're pretty much equal. It's just like up to Arthur Smith and who he wants to use least efficiently, and that's what it's going to end up being for the rest of the year. But moving forward, we can talk about a more fun game to watch. Maybe not if you're a Bucs fan and didn't just watch the fourth quarter, but the Ravens Buccaneers, which we both tuned into for Monday Night Football, because ain't nobody got ESPN Plus like that.
Well, NFL
also,
Plus
who wants to
had the Chargers
watch
game.
that? NFL Plus had the ESPN Plus Monday night. Same difference. Who's got money to spend on these pluses? Damn it!
My dad. Shout out.
But
yeah, Ravens game, man, that was an impressive performance. Our franchise tag player of the week, shout out. Go follow the main franchise tag Twitter. I think it's linked in the description, but if it's not, if it hasn't been in the past, I will make sure it is this episode. And it is separate from both of our individual Twitters, but I did retweet it, so you should have seen it either way. Should be following my Twitter. What are you doing? Anywho, Lamar, 5 touchdown game, 5 incompletion game, no picks. He continues his streak of no interceptions thrown on Monday nights. I don't know if you saw that stat pop up anywhere.
I did not, but I was thinking about the whole stats versus NFC during that game.
Yeah, Lamar was really good. Derrick Henry, equally good. The broadcast was saying, I think it was Joe Buck was like, he hasn't really been that effective of a rusher tonight. And as he was saying those words, they handed it to him for an 80-yard run. So I thought that was really nice. Shout out Joe Buck on the curse for that one. But other than that, it was just rough injuries for the Bucs. They had Mike Evans playing despite him being at a high risk for re-aggravation of a hamstring injury, and now he's out until after their bye week. And then Chris Godwin was in the game with 40 seconds left. Nobody knows why he was in the game, and he dislocated his ankle and is likely out for the year. So both of those, it's like, yeah, injuries are pretty hard to predict, but I feel like both of those are definitely preventable by just being smart.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Mike Evans isn't 100%. There's a pretty high chance that he re-aggravates his hamstring, and this is a interconference game, so it doesn't really matter for standings that much. Maybe don't play your injured receiver.
Or maybe go snap count,
Yeah.
Gauge it a little bit better than that. And then, you texted me, because I had gone to bed. I was like, cool, game's pretty much decided. I'm going to check out, go to bed. And I wake up this morning, and I see, after our last text about the game, probably 20 minutes after that, you're like, Chris Godwin's hurt. I was like, why the fuck was he in? I'm like, what? How?
Literally
How?
40 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's aggravating. Holy hell. Because you have the, yards after catch leader on your team, and then, other wide receiver went down. Well, there's going to be bright news, he's going to be having more target share as we go into the... Oh, no, he's okay. He's going to miss the same time, if not more. So...
More time. No,
yeah.
Guaranteed more.
He's getting surgery on that ankle today, I believe, or sometime this week. But to continue and compound on injuries this weekend, because that's where we're getting into. We'll move to not that one. Stop cheering.
Sorry.
We're moving to the Ayuk injury first.
I don't want that look. Yeah.
Don't cheer for Ayuk.
No.
Brandon Ayuk, he tore. I think it was MCL and ACL were both torn.
Yeah.
And I saw a tweet that was like, as much as this sucks, it proves that he was right to hold out. Because if he got hurt, that would have been used in negotiations, and he wouldn't have gotten paid as much money. So.
Valid.
Shout out the holdout. It worked. But it is unfortunate that he's
if he was
he's done
exercising with his teammates at that time instead of holding out in his, whatever.
If it was like a week 1 thing, then yeah, sure. But he's been playing for 6 weeks. I think it's just an unfortunate one. And then we had some smaller injuries. DK Metcalf has an MCL sprain. It's a week-to-week thing, and Jaden Daniels has his rib injury that's week-to-week as well.
Put some duct tape on it, Jaden Daniels. You got an important game coming up, and we'll be touching.
Did you happen to see the play where Jaden Daniels got hurt?
I did not. No.
Okay, I didn't either, and I was wondering if it was like a big hit or
if it was the LSU
first
tape.
game of the year, LSU jump over the pile and get speared. Yeah, I think that was first play of the game that he did that.
Crazy.
Yeah, some smaller injuries there, and then we get into go for it. Deshaun Watson,
Whoa.
ruptured Achilles. All right, I'm gonna monologue for a second if you're good with that.
Yep, go for it.
I would never wish injury on anybody. I would never genuinely hope that somebody gets hurt. I would probably not cheer when somebody is hurt for playing bad. However, I enjoy the fact that you're twiddling your thumbs. Thank you. However, with Deshaun, it is different. If you are a Browns fan that was cheering because a player who was playing poorly got injured, bad, boo, no, don't do that. If you are a human being who is cheering because an awful scumbag of a man got hurt, yay! So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And again, I would never hope somebody got injured. Every time that I retweeted or said something like, take Aiden Hutchinson's pain triplet and give it to Deshaun. Yeah. Every time that I saw that and laughed at that and was like, haha, yeah, I was mostly joking. But if it had to happen to somebody, I don't think there's a better candidate for it to happen to.
Did you also see the please God take Deshaun Watson's pain triplet and give it
to Deshaun Watson?
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
I think I retweeted that one, and then I think you sent it to me, and I was like, dumbass, I retweeted that.
You're why it's on the timeline.
I was imagining it said like FTP Anderson retweeted, and you sent it to me. Like, did you see this?
Hey, look at this. This is funny. No.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I'll put my own disclaimer on it. Like, yes, I don't wish injury upon anyone. Human beings have a thing called like emotions, and you can sometimes feel other people's emotions through something called empathy. And when I saw him crying as he was carted off the field, I thought to myself, wow, how many women has he made cry? And that really freed up all of my conscience. That's kind of how I explained it to my wife and mother-in-law who were watching the game, and we saw that at the same time. I was like, yeah, well, don't feel bad for him. Here's why.
I think that's all we have. Or actually, no, we have one more thing.
One more thing.
One more topic. And that is replay assist. It has been a very big thing this year. It has been a new thing that the NFL's trying, where instead of forcing the coaches to use their challenges on everything that they want a second look taken at, they will basically have, I'm assuming they just have somebody watching it and being like, hey, you made the wrong call, fix that. And I am a huge fan of the change. I've seen some people that don't like it, that they think the game slows down a little bit. And you texted me, I was hoping to ask you about it when I didn't know your opinion, but you texted me and you were like, oh, I think replay assist is great. And I was like, man, there goes my question for the video. But if you have anything else to add on replay assist in general this season, and you think needs to be said.
I think the best part of it is that like you as a viewer get to see a second look at it without any, downside for your team. Because if it gets overturned, that's a good thing in your favor. But if it like were to not be replay assisted and your team isn't one who likes to be pretty loosey goosey with the challenge flag because timeouts and the likelihood of a future challenge being taken away if you're wrong, then it really helps those teams. And I think it kind of levels the playing field. And I personally, I think replay assist is the best iteration of this kind of thing being implemented. Because yes, it slows down the game, but it's a lot quicker of a slowdown. I know that couple seasons ago, when the XFL first came back, XFL had this great replay function where they reviewed it very quickly, got it done quick. And then when the NFL tried that, it was very bogged down, very slow. And it really feels like they've kind of gotten closer to what the XFL had in 2020 of, okay, this is going to be quick, efficient, and we want to know immediately the reasoning behind it and all of this. The XFL was a little bit more transparent with that, where they had the ref actually speak into a mic what he was seeing. But the NFL has scooted closer to what the XFL had that was so great, and I'm a really big fan of it.
Yeah. There's a couple other issues, but I think we'll save some of our thoughts on, especially on the flag side of things, for a different segment down the road. Mm-hmm. But speaking of segments, we can get into this week's segment. Let's talk about the upcoming trade deadline and some moves that we would like to see. So we have each selected a few trades that we would like to see happen. The number that we had set was 3, but I've got a couple more, you've got a couple more. Mm-hmm. So we'll just go until it feels right to stop. And we'll talk about some players that we might want to see moved. And we have actually thought of compensation, draft picks and different players that might be traded for these players. So if you would like to kick us off with your first trade, I would like to hear it.
Man, I was hoping you were going to take it, but it does make sense. I have more as of right now, pre-planned than you. But I'll go ahead and I'll start off with probably, a safe one, maybe. Because there's been some fuel around this for going back to last offseason and last trade deadline. But, or not a couple of years ago. But I am thinking a DeAndre Hopkins trade to the Chiefs for a 3rd-round pick would be a adequate compensation for the team, notably because the Chiefs don't just have their own 3rd-round pick, they have the Titans' 3rd-round pick. So the Titans go ahead and they get that back, and the Titans are going to have a good draft pick this year. It's basically predetermined with how they've been playing. And the Chiefs get DeAndre Hopkins, who has been, linked with the Chiefs in those trade talks of the past. And then the Chiefs get a bona fide weapon because they've lost all of their weapons. And Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster,
who's injured,
aren't really going to crack it for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I think that based on trades we've seen in the past, a 3rd is a bit of an, I don't want to say overcompensation, but I feel like a 3rd is a lot to give up for a veteran receiver when we see some of the other guys that are getting traded around. I think Devontae is at a better, he's playing better than D-Hop is right now. Situation, all of that, of course. But I think Devontae is better and he was traded for less than that. But I also see the Titans being like, nah, you're the Chiefs. You got to give us more because we're giving you the golden ticket to solve your problems.
I'm also very happy that you brought that up because I did have a rebuttal to it. And the 3rd-round pick, yes, it's a little bit expensive. The Chiefs are in a rut for the position, so the need is there. And then also, in this 3rd-round pick scenario where they are getting their own pick back instead of the Chiefs, which would be a whole round difference at that point, I have the Titans taking some of the cap hit for DeAndre Hopkins, which makes the deal work in the Chiefs' favor, because at the moment the Chiefs only have, I believe, around $5 million in cap space. So they can't afford the D-Hop contract, hence the premium draft position to get them there for this year and go ahead and cover the cost on the Titan side.
All right. That makes sense. I'll go with my first one. And I have Justin Fields getting traded to the Giants. And that is I just have a 2026 fourth round pick. The reason that it's so low and so cheap for the Giants in a future fourth is because they would have to extend Justin Fields or just use him for the rest of this season. His contract expires at the end of this year. So it would basically be giving up, ultimately, some pretty high capital in order to basically get a premium waiver position on him, where you get to negotiate with him for 6 months before any other team does. And I think it would be nice to see Fields in a place with, I don't know if I'd say better receivers, but it's another, he'd be sent to another offense that's kind of starved for talent, but at least it's Brian Dable. You know, there's a bona fide good coach there that has had success developing quarterbacks in the past with Josh Allen. And it would be nice to see somebody not named Daniel Jones in that Giants offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, bare minimum, this gives Daniel Jones competition, right? Like, in the room, you now have to try harder to keep your starting job, and you're not pigeonholed to Daniel Jones as much because now you have a young backup who is affordable, and you could extend for affordable money because it's basically a prove-it deal, and you're not trapped. So I would honestly, as much as I would hate Justin Fields being on the move to yet another organization that hasn't performed too great as of late, you know, it is what it is.
Neighbors is there. There's some,
Yeah.
I think Neighbors would probably be the best receiver that he's played with in his career.
Yeah, there's hope for the future
So
there. It would
NFL
just
career,
not be
necessarily
something this
college.
week.
He played at Ohio State.
True. Good clarification there.
Yeah. All right, your next one, and then my next one's real fun. I'm excited for this one.
Okay. All right. So I went ahead and, I'm thinking of a couple of Browns players that could, exit the building. But I'm also not thinking of such big names that it's going to be copious amounts of draft compensation. And while I could see copious amounts of draft compensation going in favor of a Myles Garrett, I don't feel like the Browns are going to budge on Myles Garrett unless it's like
3 firsts.
to rapist
or something.
Type of compensation. And so I leaned a little safer and I looked towards a different position group. And that was Greg Newsome II, who is next season going to be playing on a 5th-year option. And I have him being traded to the Commanders for a 2025 third-round pick and it's not compensatory. What's the term?
Pick swap?
No, if it's weighing on something.
Oh, a condition.
A conditional 5th-round pick as well for playing time, basically. So
Okay.
This is a defense that is starved for the DB talent there. You kind of made a good point of, maybe not last episode, but a couple episodes ago, of Mike Sainristil is a standout player on that team. And it's because there's really no one else around him, and he's a rookie. So you go ahead and you add someone who is they're in their 4th year, and they've proven that they are good in man coverage. They've proven that they are a decent coverage player. Maybe not so far this year, but the Browns have really regressed defensively this year. So take, the past 3 years of tape into consideration more than this year's tape. And you go ahead and you really bolster the weakest part of your team as the Commanders, who are in contention to go ahead and be the top of their division, make it to the playoffs. They want to be able to survive in the playoffs. So I have this trade going through for the 3rd-round pick with the conditional 5th-round pick.
So you like your 3rd-round pick trades, evidently.
I do, it seems.
I like my 4th-round pick trades. So I have, and this one will never happen, not because it's not a good trade, but because of who I have this player going to and their refusal to make any moves. I don't know if I've hinted at that enough, but I have the Falcons trading Tyler Algier to the Cowboys for a 2025 4th-round pick. And I think that would solve a lot of problems. Bijan is really coming into his own, and Tyler Algier is still on a cheap rookie deal. So there's not really I don't think the Falcons really have a reason to give him up. but he was a 5th-round pick, and turning a 5th-round pick into a 4th-round pick is always nice. And I think it's pretty evident that he would probably want to test free agency over re-signing for a cheap deal, just because he knows that he could be RB1 on a couple of teams if they have a weaker running back room. Mm-hmm. So giving him to somebody like the Cowboys, who has a really struggling in the run game, with Zeke kind of being their, I guess, top dog. I think it would be a perfect fit for them, and it would give Algier a place to kind of do what Cowboys fans wanted Tony Pollard to do, which is start. And then it didn't work for Tony Pollard, but maybe it works for Algier. And if it does, you've got him for a year and a half, and then you can think about extending him or letting him at free agency, and it would give you a little bit more offensive flexibility.
Yeah, you stated that, the Falcons don't really have a good reason to move him, and I'll raise you one good reason, and it's that FTP Anderson is the one calling the shots right now, and he really does not like seeing Tyler Algier get these carries over Bijan Robinson. So, there's some clarification for the viewer on why did this happen. That's why.
Well, it's less that, because Bijan's been getting more touches recently. He was extremely efficient this game, and I think they're moving towards just having a Bijan only backfield. So I think they've kind of got a commodity that they don't need, where if they could turn it into it could even be like a 3rd-round pick, honestly. I could see the Cowboys giving up that much for him, just because the contract is so kind. But yeah, I think the Falcons don't need him. They could do with the draft capital just to kind of protect their future. They're in somewhat of a win now mode, but also in a future winning mode. So they're clearly gearing up for both. And I think that's a move that just kind of makes sense to me, even though that's not something that's been talked about at all. And Algier is not a name that has come up in any trade rumors that I've seen, at least. But if you want to get into your 3rd trade.
All right. You called me out. I've got too many 3rd-round picks being moved for these players. I get it. So I'll go ahead and I'll give you a trade that doesn't include a 3rd-round pick being moved. And this is maybe a little bit extra evident after last night's game. Or not last night's, but some primetime game that's happened recently. And this is Mike Williams being traded. And is this your last one as well? Are you mad at me?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wonder if we have the same landing spot.
That would be crazy. I doubt it.
Okay. I have Mike Williams going to the Steelers, the team that they just played. Russ has clearly been shown to be the guy that loves to throw these balls straight up and have it be contested. And guess what Mike Williams is really great for? And you could get at very cheap compensation, as he's an older veteran, at the cost of just a 2025 6th-round pick to bolster the offense of the Steelers as they're sitting at 5-2 and are looking to do that for this playoff run. I have that trade going through to give Russ more weapons.
Yeah, so you've got Mike Williams. I don't know if you could tell by my facial expression and by me saying that I had a Mike Williams trade, but I also have a Mike Williams trade. His name has been one that's been floated since the Devontae trade, and I'm kind of surprised that they didn't trade him with Devontae to the Raiders, because I feel like that would have made more sense. Swap receivers and, give up a pick. I have him going to the Patriots, though, who have a bit of a receiver issue, in exchange for a 2026 6th-round pick. So 1 year later, his contract is very friendly. I don't think Aaron Rodgers loves him. He threw him under the bus for the Hail Mary attempt that got picked. So I don't think there's any love lost, and I don't think the Patriots would have to give up that much. He would give Drake May a bit of a more reliable option. The most reliable option he has right now was Kendrick Bourne until he dropped that pass over the middle that hit him in the hands. Now it's Demario Douglas, who was thrown up on the sideline. Well, not actually, but he had food poisoning, so he wasn't playing in London. But yeah, Jalen Polk, best hands in the league, dropping every pass. It's not a great look. So you need to bring in somebody that can catch, and I think that Mike Williams might be able to do that for you.
And with that brings us each to our last trades that we have. And, I like this balance that we've had. I did a Chiefs, Commanders, Steelers. You got the Giants, the Cowboys, the Patriots. We really diversified who's getting who in this trade so far. But I'm pretty sure we both have the same landing spot for these players that are coming up here. And that would be the Detroit Lions. if I'm correct in assuming. And we've got some different players here because I have the Lions doing the, safer cap or, draft position swap here. And that would be acquiring Zadarius Smith. This is another Browns player I have moving at the deadline who isn't one of those bigger names that would cost a lot. Being traded to the Lions for a 2025 fourth round pick. Once again, not a third round pick. Don't dog me for it. And this is the safer option. It's definitely been shown that, Brad Holmes loves his picks, and I don't see him giving up multiple late round picks for somebody. I would then opt for the fourth only, not like a fifth and a sixth or a fifth and a future or anything. Just straight up for the fourth to get Zadarius Smith. He's played in the division a lot. And, why not have this little, come back to the NFC North little play here. But, I think that yours is arguably the much more exciting one. This is definitely
It is much more exciting.
This is just the more,
Realistic.
let's be
I think is what
friendly and not overhype anything. Let's not try to, hype it up, and let's keep it calm, cool, collected, so that way when something cooler happens, I can be really excited. But for now, if I got Zadarius, I'd be happy.
Yeah, so I think Zadarius Smith is a very realistic option for the Cowboys and Cowboys. Wow, I am just out of it today. For the Lions, and I think cap wise, trade comp wise, and just need wise for the Lions, it's a very realistic option, and it's much less exciting though than Max Crosby heading back to Michigan to go play for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to need your help with the compensation on this, because I actually didn't look at his contract at all, so I don't know how long he would be there, or how long his current contract is. It is actually only through 2026.
I was gonna say, I know that it's he got a big extension, but it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so he wouldn't be there for too long. I feel like he seems pretty checked out of the Raiders stuff, and I can't say I blame him.
Yeah.
But I have him going for a 2025 first and 2026 third. And I feel like that's light compensation, and that's something you would be okay with giving up, but I don't think the Raiders would accept it unless he's demanding out.
Yeah, I think that, he has been kind of in that boat of Myles Garrett, of these are players that are going to retire at this spot. Their teams just suck, and you don't want them to retire at those spots. You want them to kind of go above and beyond and play with better teams, get to the playoffs, get better moments. And if Max Crosby continues this checked out, committed, his mind is elsewhere. He's thinking about other teams he could be playing on. Then
he's thinking about smoking woods with Dan Campbell. that's all that's on his mind.
He's thinking about shotgunning some beers with with Dan Campbell in the locker room, and he's sitting there sad in the locker room getting interviewed about it. But I think realistically, the Raiders are just gonna force him to be there unless he says, I don't want to be here. And so if it's more of that situation of no, he's staying with us no matter what, even you better make a crazy offer, then it would be okay, we need to give him 2 firsts. But I think the realistic output for if he does move would be closer to what you had than him not moving at all, because his cost is too high.
Yeah, I'll bump it up to a 2026 second round pick from a third round pick, because the Lions are set up for success in the future, so I don't think they're going to be bad. So I think it'll be probably a pretty late second or late third. I'm assuming that if Max Crosby is getting traded, it's because he's telling the Raiders that he wants to get traded. I don't think they're shopping him around because they don't want him anymore. Yeah. So that is kind of the main disclaimer with this trade specifically, is this is Max demanding his way out, or not demanding, but requesting his way out, and them just kind of getting what they can for him. And it's, NFC to or AFC to NFC trade. So there's not any you're probably not going to play against him anytime soon. And if you do, it's going to be once. So there's not a ton of friction there. Whereas some of these trades, like Mike Williams to the Patriots, that's an interdivision trade. So I don't know. I think I now have it bumped up to a 25 first and 26 second. They may have to throw in a player as well, but I just don't know the Lions roster that well or the Raiders roster to know what they need outside of everything. And I've seen some like Hendon Hooker might get traded talks, and I just don't think that's realistic because I think he's the Lions' future plan at quarterback. So I don't know why they'd get rid of him.
Yeah.
I think you're not
going to trade your succession plan, and I think that the Raiders also don't need to trade for a player when the issue is the roster. Like they trade for a player and they have to deal with that player's contract and that player's renegotiation. Whereas if they just get a draft pick instead, then they work on expanding through the draft, and now they have a player for 4 years. It works out. It makes more sense in my eyes that way.
Yeah. And you also don't know what you're getting with Hendon Hooker. So I think that's the other reason the Raiders wouldn't be super into it is they don't know for sure that they're getting a good starter. They're giving stuff up for a chance at a possible starter. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. So, but yeah, that kind of rounds out this segment of the podcast of the trade block, as long as you don't have anything else to add. Let us know down in the comments some trades that you would like to see if you think that ours are super unrealistic, and then maybe fix the compensation on some of these for us. We're not experts. We don't know the inner workings of every single one of these teams. So if you know, if you have a little bit more insider information, you're a little bit more in tune with the teams that we mentioned, let us know, please, because we do appreciate that feedback. But we can get into the NFL stocks if you're ready for that.
I am ready for that. I've been licking my chops ready for that.
Right above us is the stock sheets. You can see what we have. We have had some stocks go up, some stocks go down. Right now, what I'm looking at is my Bengals stocks. I could get out of them right now, and I could break even because I spent the $1,100 at the beginning of the year, but then I doubled down on them and got $700 worth when they were only $350 a piece, which means I've invested $1,800 and they are worth $1,800. However, they play the Eagles and then the Raiders. So even if they drop one of those, I am betting that they will win at least one. And if they go 1-1, they stay at the same value as they're at right now. So then I'll have a chance to reevaluate and think if I want to drop them. Ultimately, I don't think I'm going to be making any moves today. The only one that I was thinking about was selling the Ravens, but I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon, so I don't really want to sell them. It would just be because they're kind of topping out at what I think their highest point is.
Yeah, and we both got in at the Ravens at the same time, so we're in the same predicament there. They play the Browns next, so if anything, I was going to hold on to them one more week. The teams I was closer to looking at making a move on for this week was going to be, the Packers. I don't love how Jordan Love's playing. Pun, get it? Haha. But they're still a good enough team. They have a great coach. They're going to win more games. They're not going to top out at 725 where I currently have them sitting at. As we said, that this is a division that could possibly all make the playoffs, so why drop one of them now? The 49ers, they lost, so I went down on them, so I'm not going to exactly sell. And, the Falcons, the Chargers lost, and I think that the Falcons have better days ahead of them as they play their division rivals more, get more of those division wins in, and so I'm kind of holding on everybody. I only have $400 in the bank, and if I look at, bottom of the barrel teams here that I could afford at $400 in the bank, I don't want the Jags. I don't want the Browns. I don't want the Panthers. It's slim pickings right at this point in the season of teams that are bad. The Dolphins are here.
Yeah, but I was going to say I got one.
Yeah, that would leave me with $50 in the bank, and I like having my bank money to pick and choose. So while I could see the Dolphins, resurging with Tua, could it happen this week? Maybe not. So I'm going to go ahead and let that rock for a week before I think about putting money in on them. See if I sell and get more capital to buy anything next week. But yeah, right now I'm not doing any moves either.
Right now, I saw the Dolphins and they piqued my interest, and I've got enough money in the bank account to buy one, so I'm actually going to do that. pick up 1 share of the Dolphins stock, bought at 350, which takes my bank balance down. See if I can do quick math. It'll
Nope,
be
you can't. I'm quicker.
225. Right?
Yep.
Woo!
You know
Quick
the
math, baby.
fun way to test if you're right on your math?
Watch your net worth and see if it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. I typed in 350 here before I looked at the net worth, so I was like, shucks.
All right.
But anywho,
Busy week on the stocks.
yeah, super busy, super duper busy. I think that I'm more inclined to hold off on the Dolphins because I think in a week, I think they have a chance to lose this week, and if they do, then I may pick up some more shares because they'd be even cheaper. But I think they're going to be much better now that Tua is back, as long as he stays healthy. That is the biggest caveat on them.
Yep. Makes sense.
Alrighty, and now we can get into our pick'ems.
PickEms.
Flash the intro. Woo, great job editing, Gabe. You're doing amazing work. Kicking off Thursday night football, we've got Vikings at Rams. This is one expecting Cooper Kupp to be back. Rams may be looking a little bit healthier. Puka has been designated to return from IR, but I do not think he's playing this game.
No.
I'm going to take the Vikings having a bounce back game before the Rams get fully healthy, and that is all I've got to say on that. Vikings coming off a tough loss to the Lions, so I think they'll look to bounce back here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The Rams are getting healthy, but they aren't fully healthy yet. Their O-line it's been banged up all year, so that's still a consideration to have in mind. And so I'm matching your pick with the Vikings here. And then the next one on the docket is Ravens at Browns. I'm not going to say that losing your starting quarterback hurt the Browns in consideration this week. But the Ravens are on a steamroll. Like, they are going to flatten the Browns, demoralize them at home. I got the Ravens in this one.
Fully agree there. I think this is, I think this past game was Lamar's put me on the MVP map for a third straight year kind of game. 5 touchdowns, 5 incompletions. So he'll look to continue that. And obviously, a divisional opponent is extra tough when it's the AFC North. But if we see a trade happen from the Browns, maybe this looks a little bit more in the Ravens' favor because they're definitely movers at the deadline, not bringing people in. But
yeah.
Next up, Titans heading into Detroit, taking on the Lions. This is my lock of the week, taking the Lions over the Titans here. Pretty easy pick. I think this is one of the more locky locks that I've made because I was trying to kind of get the tougher locks out of the way early so I could take the easier ones as the season went on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been kind of trying to bounce around with my locks, try to play it safe at times, try to be a little more ballsy at other times. But, it's time I throw that out the window. I've got the Lions in this one. I'm hitting my lock on the Lions as well. It's funny that coincided like that. But, the Titans, if Mason Rudolph goes again, I'm sorry, Brian Branch is housing like 4 picks. Like, this is just what's going to happen.
If Levis goes again, he's housing 5. Right? Why we're talking about it?
No. Hey, hold on. If Levis goes, it'll be Kirby Joseph. That's how that goes.
Okay. Kirby, shout out. You're leading us into this next one.
I'm leading this next one. Yep. All right, and then next up we got the Cardinals at Dolphins. Again, Tua's back. The Cardinals struggled against a team that only scored via field goals, and they barely won that game by a 2-point margin. So I'm going with the Dolphins here. I did say that I wouldn't be surprised if they did lose, but with Tua coming back, and the hope is that, he took enough time off from that concussion where he's back and he's fully back. He's not coming back and he's going to make mental errors. The hope is that he comes back strong. So I've still got the Dolphins winning this one.
Yeah, I do as well. It's much more of a it's very different than coming back off an IR stint for like a leg injury or something. Yeah. The concussions are normally like a 1-week absence kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously with the the history, it's a lot worse. But Tua was up and at him like the week after. So I think the extra few weeks is great for his rest, but I don't think his actual physical play is going to be diminished at all. And I also think the Dolphins are going to want to make a statement when they come out against the Cardinals' weak defense, and they're going to want to be like, hey, we're back in this bitch, and we're chucking that thing deep, all right? As deep as Tua can throw it. But that's a different problem for a different day. Then next up, we've got the Jets at the Patriots. I had a bold prediction earlier this year that the Patriots would be splitting all their divisional matchups, that they would go 1-1 in each divisional matchup. I locked the Patriots last time they played the Jets on Thursday night. That didn't go well. But as a Patriots fan, I will never believe in the Jets, not once, not ever. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Patriots here, despite, common sense telling me that maybe Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are gonna be a little bit more in sync after an extra week of practice, and maybe we'll get demolished. But go Pats.
Yeah, I see your optimism as a Pats fan, and I also see Aaron Rodgers' propensity to throw picks this year, which is very out of the normal. I don't think Devontae changes that. I have the Patriots in this one. I think that, I just can't have faith in the Jets where they are right now. Meanwhile, the Patriots at least have a young quarterback who they are going to refuse to use effectively, but the Jets also have no defense. So in a defense versus defense matchup, I would lean the Pats. And in an offensive matchup, it's kind of even, you wouldn't think so with the talent that the Jets have on offense, but it's kind of even with their, lack of effectiveness with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball and kind of throwing to the defense more likely than he ever has been.
Yep.
And then leading into the Falcons at Buccaneers, I have the Falcons taking this one. As we stated, the Bucs just took a huge hit to their injured reserve list. Long laundry list there. So I've got the Falcons walking up in the trap and taking over the trap. Yeah.
Yep, right there with you. I agree. Falcons over Bucks. Then Bears at Commanders. Stamp it up there. That is franchise tagged game of the week. Subject to change if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. So our backup, we will mention it when we get there. But for now, game of the week is Bears at Commies. I shouldn't say that in an actual video, but I did. I'm taking the Bears in this one. I think if Jaden Daniels does go, it'll be closer, but I still like the Bears a little bit more. I like their defense more than I like the Commanders' defense. So I think that offenses are both strong and led by rookie quarterbacks. One is only getting better. One started off pretty hot. So that's all I got for him.
Yeah, the Bears are definitely building, and the Bears have had a phenomenal defense from the get. The Commanders, they're also building. They built very fast, very early, and they're building slower now. But with the rib injury, even if he does go, he might not be playing at his full 100%-ness. And I've got the Bears on this one. And then we got the Packers going into Jacksonville to play the Jags. And I've got the Packers in this one. It's hard to beat down on the Jags anymore. We have them being sellers at the trade deadline. So yeah, it's the Packers. Top of the conference in their division, and the Jags are bottom of the division in a bottom conference. Or fucking hell, I can't spit that out, but you know what I mean. They bad,
yep.
They good. Packers win.
Yep, I agree with you there. Packers win. Then Colts at Texans. I've got the Texans in this one. If Anthony Richardson goes, the Colts pass game is basically non-existent, unfortunately for us who really like Anthony Richardson. But yeah, Texans are just so good right now. Even without Nico Collins, they're really good. I think they lost to the Packers because of no Nico Collins, but I think they've got a bounce back in division win in this one.
Yeah, I think that was the worst we've seen the Texans play in that loss, and it was a narrow loss. So you go ahead and you put that against the Colts, who looked much, much murkier, we'll say. And I'm also leaning Texans in this one, in this division matchup. The next, we've got the Saints at Chargers. It's not like they are injury concerns got any better as last week, even last game. They had a lot of injuries. So I'm leaning Chargers in this one. Chargers, I mean, that was a rough Monday Night Football game to not watch. Just seeing the score was like, what the hell is happening in this game? But it's, the Saints are hard to root for with the lack of anything, starters, anywhere.
Well, you said their injury concerns aren't getting much better. They are. Chris Olave is coming back. I think two of their starting offensive linemen that they lost early in the year are coming back as well. Taysom Hill is coming back. So they're getting back three starters and one gadget guy to the offense. Still no Derek
I didn't know
Carr.
Taysom Hill was coming back.
But
so, the Saints are winning this one. Taysom Hill, X Factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Activate,
Taysom Hill is the greatest
crazy.
player of all time. Little known fact. He actually won 6 straight MVPs to enter the league. So
this linebacker moved to full. Damn it, wrong guy.
Jason. I'm also taking the Chargers in this one, but I do think it will be very close. I didn't like the Chargers showing in this past one, and it is on. I say it every week. Can you call this upset watch? I don't know. It's on upset watch for me. And then moving into our backup game of the week. If Jaden Daniels is out, the Bills at the Seahawks is going to be our secondary game of the week. The Seahawks really, enter the trap, take over the trap. What was this? What was it?
Walk in your trap, take over your trap.
Walk in your trap, take over your trap. Yeah, Seahawks really did that, but no DK, I think, this week. So it's going to be tough for them. I have the Bills in this one. I don't know if it was obvious enough, but I'm not moved by the Seahawks really. I think this was a dominant win for them, and Byron Murphy makes a big difference on that defense. The games that he has played, I think they averaged letting up like 15 points a game, and the games that he hasn't, they averaged letting up like 30. So it's something crazy like that, but I don't think it's that meaningful, and I think the Bills are gonna walk in your trap and take over your trap at the Seahawks, even though it doesn't the Falcons thing. But anywho.
Yeah, I can agree with the Bills pick here. And then moving on to the Eagles taking on the Bengals at home. I mean, you got one who's got a goofball at head coach, and then you've got one who's like a likable, kind of full, luscious-haired man who isn't trying to hide his balding by shaving it. I got the Bengals winning this one purely off of coach aura. All right.
Wow. The only good thing I've seen about Sirianni recently is he walked up to Saquon and he was like, "Hey, you're 13 yards off your career high. Do you want to go for it against the Giants?" And he sounded like a decent guy and he sounded nice. So that's all I got to say nice about the Eagles. Saquon's going crazy and I'm worried for this Bengals defense, but the Eagles notably do not have good cornerbacks, and Jamar Chase is notably a good receiver. So I'll go ahead and take the Bengals at home in this one. And then moving on to, I think, probably a runner-up for shit show of the week, Panthers at Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos in this one just because I can never believe in the Panthers, and Bo Nix kind of, can I say it, kind of balling right now.
The jinx has been done. All right, I've also got the Broncos in this one. The Panthers, they exist, but as you said, it's a shit show of the week, runner-up, and the Broncos, they're just not fun to watch. But the Panthers, it's like, what am I watching is the main question you ask there. So, yeah, Broncos in this one. And then we got the Chiefs going at the Raiders. This feels like an easy pick for a team that we, again, had offloading a lot of people. We got the Chiefs winning this one. I know you don't want to talk about it. We'll go ahead and move on past that if you agree.
Go Chiefs.
All right.
You see, okay, my beef with the Chiefs, right? It also stems from the fact that I love picking against them, and so when they're winning, I'm just extra mad because I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to admit that I picked wrong in PickEms next week. Man, damn it. So if I pick for them, if I pick for the Chiefs, if they lose, I'm happy because the Chiefs lost. But if they win, I'm like, well, at least I got to PickEms right. So, anywho, Cowboys at 49ers. The 49ers are depleted. They are struggling, but the Cowboys are mega ass. So go Niners.
Go Niners, am I right? The Cowboys play calling
Niners.
sucks. They can't get anything going. They can't stop anything. The 49ers, depleted as they are, at least have a good defense to fall back on. The Cowboys have nothing to fall back on.
And
Dak?
the 49ers also have a healthy Debo. Hopefully he had pneumonia, or he has pneumonia. So if he plays this week, that'll be nice if he's got the extra week of rest. And then the other thing, Ricky Pearsall coming into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
So losing Ayuk, but maybe getting a healthy Juwan Jennings back, maybe getting a healthy Ricky Pearsall that's coming into the offense. They might be all right.
And then, we may have alluded to it with a couple other teams being called runner-ups for it, but this is the shit show of the week. We got the Giants at Steelers. Why is this prime time? Please, God, save us.
They didn't flex this
I've got
one
the
out, did
Steelers
they?
in this one. Ooh. Did they? They did. Isn't this what they flexed the game of the week
Monday
to?
7:15. Woo! They didn't. No, they did
those
not.
sons of
They did not
bitches.
flex this game out. They flexed the game of the week to slightly earlier. I think they flexed it to a noon game from a 4 game.
Okay. Those losers.
Something like that.
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got the Steelers in this one. Like, the Giants, they've been exciting, but the Steelers still have that strong defense to fall back on. And I say the Giants have been exciting. It's one player that's been exciting. And as I said, Steelers defense has been pretty good. So I don't think that the Malik Neighbors is going to go all over crazy on them. So I've got the Steelers. Hopefully Russ continues to look good. Otherwise, we're going to be going for his head and wanting Justin Fields back in.
Absolutely. We're going to be hate watching the Steelers all year long, waiting until we can say, get Fields back in there. Get him back in there. Unless they
Look at
trade
that.
him. Then we'll just be rooting for whatever team that is. But yeah, Giants at
Look at
Steelers. I got Steelers
get
as
him out
well.
of there.
And I have bad news for you. Our picks are the
Right.
same this week. Every one of them. So they're all
I
wrong.
know. Mhm. We are going.
So
160
historically,
for sure.
for those of you that have not watched a lot of Pick'em segments, historically when we have the same picks, they're god awful. So we're probably both going to go like 8-8 this week, if I had to guess. But we'll see if this week can be called Upset Central 2.0 or whatever. But I think that's all we got, right? Got anything else for these people leader live their lives by?
Watch Dumb Down. You get smarter through Dumb Down. The playlist is on the channel.
Yeah.
Check it out. Or else. Also,
You know
check
what?
out every single
Just for
segment
you.
video because they're
Playlist
all
is in the
really cool.
description. Go check that out.
Yay! Alrighty. With that,
And with that,
deuces.
deuces.